Yeah, it's the Friday edition of Mr. Irrelevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruberl offices, One Call That's All Studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Yesterday, I was at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. That's where Riley Yauk is. Young Riley Yauk filling in for Tiny Hands today, who we'll talk about a little bit later. I'll just start with this. Tiny Hands Hunter Vaughn, who usually produces the show, has been very excited for this day, July 19th. For months. He submitted an off day for July 19th in March because that was when it was announced that College Football 25 would be available to everybody. So Hunter downloaded College Football 25 late last night. I think it was after midnight. And he's been grinding since, I don't know, Riley, what time did he text us this morning? Maybe 7 a.m.?
Let me check real quick.
Yeah, check the timestamp on that because we do have updates that we'll get to later about his day off playing College Football 25. But he's been doing it all day.
Yeah, 8:23 a.m., and I guarantee you he was on at midnight last night when it released. Guaranteed.
Goodness. I wonder how his wife feels, right? Like, he's got something he's excited about, and when you're in a relationship, you know, obviously, if your significant other is excited about something, you support that, right? So I'm sure she's not like, whoa, this is bad. I'm just curious how it goes this weekend, right? Because he's got the day off. I imagine his wife is probably at work today, so he's just hanging out in his boxers playing College Football 25. Great, I'm happy for him. But I'm curious what he's doing tomorrow. What does Sunday hold? Is he going to have 6 seasons done in College Football 25 by the time we talk on Monday from Green Bay for the opening day of training camp? That's what I'm intrigued to see. So shout out to Tiny Hands. Glad he's doing something that makes him happy. But boy, oh boy, I'm curious what Saturday and Sunday bring Riley, because I think he's going to get deep into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I would agree. I know I've been playing it since Monday. I got the early release, the $100 version. So I can only imagine. Hunter's been excited. He's been talking about this probably for the last month or so. There is no way he is not playing all weekend. I know.
So wait, so hold on, time out. You've had this since Monday?
Yep.
So how far are you?
Not that far. I actually haven't started a dynasty. I've been waiting. I'm going to do an online dynasty with some of my friends. So I've just been trying to experiment a little bit, kind of play all the modes. Did team builder yesterday. Put in a team, put in my fraternity. So we're dabbling.
Oh.
We're mixing it up.
I like it. I still haven't gotten it. I haven't played it. I will at some point, but I like that you put all your boys onto a team. That's fun. I don't know if I have enough friends to do that, Riley. So I give you a round of applause to have 20. You know, because how many people are on a roster? 50?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have enough friends if I made them in a video game where it wouldn't be weird. Right, like I had a college roommate when I was in college, and we kind of revitalized the Wii. Right, everybody remembers the Wii, and I had a buddy who it was a little creepy. We made him stop. He would make a me, which is like the personalized video game character on Wii, of any girl he went on a date with, of any girl any of the roommates went on the date with. Like we had hundreds of me's of people we had all met once, if not zero. Like it was creepy. So I don't think I could feel the college football team of people I don't talk to, you know. Whereas I guess you just graduated from UW-Madison. Congratulations!
Thank
a couple
you.
months ago. You're welcome. So you have recently talked to all these people, so I think you can get away with it for maybe one more year. But in a year when you probably don't talk to a lot of those guys, it might be creepy. So that would be my take on that. Anyway. All right, let's jump into the big news. Or is it big news of the last 48 hours since we last spoke? And that, of course, is the updates on the Jordan Love contract. So Wednesday, we broke down the interaction that Love had with Stephanie Sutton of WISN TV here in Milwaukee at his football camp in Milwaukee on Tuesday. And it essentially was somebody from the football camp saying, no, 15 times after Stephanie Sutton just strictly asked if he would also like to have a deal done by training camp, which Brian Gutekunst said last month he would for sure like a deal done by the start of camp. Rightfully so. When you have a franchise quarterback, you pay that guy, you lock it up, you end the deal. This one's tricky to me because I think, and I've said this before, I think Jordan Love learned so much of what not to do from Aaron Rodgers. He learned so much of how not to handle tricky situations. He learned so much of how not to bring unnecessary drama into the locker room. I think if we get to Monday's practice at 10:30 a.m. at Ray Nitschke Field and a deal isn't reached, I think I view that as unnecessary drama. Now, I'm not in the negotiation room. I don't have a seat at the table where maybe the Packers are giving Jordan Love a ridiculous low ball offer, right? Maybe he is getting offered Daniel Jones money of $40 million a year. Then we have a problem because we clearly know, at least we think we know, after one season of Jordan Love as the starter, he is a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones, and he is going to develop into a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones. I would guess the offer that Jordan Love's camp is looking for is in the Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow wheelhouse of $55 million a year. I don't think that's an unfair ask given who signed it this offseason in Trevor Lawrence. Jared Goff signed a $53.5 million deal this offseason. So for Love's camp to be in the arena of $55 million a year or so, I don't think that's unfair. I think the Packers can offer him somewhere in the low 50s, and I would view that as an okay deal, and I imagine the guaranteed money is ultimately what will get pen to reach paper. I think still it will happen by Monday night, end of day Monday. Josh DiMaggio, who will join us in a minute, and I made a bet that by end of day Wednesday, this thing is in stone. I think it will be. We will see. Now, this is what got everybody all up in arms yesterday. So we've talked for about 6 months now about Pretty Ricky 213 on Twitter. Pretty Ricky, for those of you that have never heard me spiel about how great this guy is it is a pseudonym on Twitter. We don't know who the guy is. We don't know who he works for. We don't know where he gets his information. But all offseason, he's been dead on about reports. He had the Goff deal before everybody else. He had the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal before everybody else. He had the Trevor Lawrence deal before everybody else. And when I say everybody else, I mean Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, et cetera, right? Like respected reporters that work for real publications. This dude with a picture of a dog has been beating them all summer long when it comes to these contract extensions. So back on June 14th, Pretty Ricky 213 tweeted something along the lines of, hey, the Packers are going to rush to get a deal done before Dak or Tua put pen to paper after the Trevor Lawrence deal. Yesterday, Pretty Ricky replied to that tweet with 2 emojis. The handshake emoji, the cheese emoji. That's all he tweeted yesterday. And everybody just assumes that meant a deal was done. So I took it into my own hands. I reached out to Pretty Ricky. I tried to book him for an interview. Pretty Ricky 213 has declined to comment on the situation. However, what he is hearing would validate what I have been saying. I will just leave it at that. What he is hearing would validate what I have been saying. A deal is not done, is everybody's understanding. And you have seen reports from very well-respected journalists across all sorts of companies saying there is not a deal done. I don't know how far away they are, but there is not a deal done. Will it happen by Monday? That I don't know. My inclination, my gut tells me that there will probably not be a deal done by Monday. However, I think the Packers and Jordan Love both would love nothing more than to have a deal done by Monday. They would love nothing more. Because you eliminate the distractions. Jordan Love gets his payday. He's on the practice field full go. I think he practices Monday if he doesn't have a deal done. But I don't think he's doing any contact. And really, quarterbacks don't in training camp. But when you get to joint practices, things get chippy. And there's one coming up in a couple of weeks. This thing needs to get done this week. And I wouldn't be shocked if it happens over the weekend. I wouldn't be shocked if they announce it Monday. 3:30 is when the shareholders meeting in, right? Like I wouldn't be shocked by that. But my gut tells me if you want no distractions, if you want full attention from Jordan Love, you need this thing done by Monday. Joshie DiMaggio, the producer of Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, has been saying for weeks that there is more to this story. We had a really good 35-minute conversation on Wednesday's edition of Mr. Irrelevant presented by Door County Distillery, where we talked about that. Joshie once again joins us now. Joshie, after the Pretty Ricky tweet of handshake cheese emoji, do you feel as if you were wrong?
Right now, I'm having a hard time believing my September 5th prediction. of when a deal would be done is going to be accurate. Since Pretty Ricky sent out the 2 emojis, I, like yourself, am a Ricky respecter.
Ricky respecter.
Ricky has been very right. Ricky is obviously somehow involved with the agency world.
Either agency world or league office would be my guess.
Yes. The one, if it was league office, it would be for that. Good luck with your job and hope they don't find out your burner account.
I hope they don't.
To me, I immediately have to acquiesce.
Oh.
Give up ground that September is out of the picture. I think really even any day into August is out of the picture. I think we're looking at the end of June by the farthest. Because if we all knew there was going to be movement once Jordan Love reported to camp. That was inevitable. You get the guy there, it's getting closer. The deadline's spur action, as we've been told many, many, many times before.
We have.
There's a chance that Pretty Ricky is totally wrong, and he got some message that was inaccurate. Mm-hmm. There has been sources I'm aware of have basically denied Ricky's handshake emoji, cheesehead emoji, that they are at the same spot they were back in Wednesday when Adam Schefter told us that there was a deal wasn't likely to get done. They were working on it, but likely not to be done before camp. Mm-hmm. I have moved up my date, though, because if there's enough rumbling going on, they aren't as far away as I initially
Do you worry about our lunch bet coming up? Deadline is Wednesday, end of day.
The lunch bet is in serious jeopardy.
Okay.
The lunch bet. Now, on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning, I mentioned to Gabe off air, and then he brought it up with Jason, that as much as Mark Murphy loves Mark Murphy and loves the big funny guy, loves stuff being about him, a part of me thinks he's going to force a deal. Hey, guess what? Jordan wants this much. Guess what? We're paying him. But a part of me also realizes that if we're here still now, there's reasons why. They're far enough apart still, even though it could be closer than we thought. And maybe, to me, if a deal gets done, it's Jordan giving up ground.
I think he will.
Yeah.
But again, though, Joshy, and we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday, if he signs a deal for $51 million a year for 4 years, right, that's $204 million, and let's say 140 of that is guaranteed, I think you can live with that.
Yeah, I think the guaranteed number is, I think that's going to be up towards 150.
I do too. I was just throwing out a number.
I think there's probably a no-go zone for Jordan in terms of guaranteed money. I think where you can give up ground is the AAV, because as we all know, that is more us talking about it than it matters to actual players. They like being the highest number.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if Jordan wants 155 and they're offering him 150, I think he can go, well, I have a lot more money than I did 10 minutes ago.
So let me ask you this, because, and Riley, I'm curious from your perspective too. Where's the panic meter at for Jordan Love and the Packers to get a deal done? Are you panicking? Or like, I don't even know if that's the right word, but if I said panic meter, Josh, 1 to 10, where are you?
I would say I was at like a 7.5, 8 prior to Pretty Ricky. Now I'm at like a 2-3.
Okay, so it's Pretty Ricky is really calming you down.
Yes.
That's what he's good for.
I think, and it's not the best for Mr. Irrelevant, but I'm sort of on the fence. I think there's truth to both things. I think the Packers and Jordan Love made up a lot of ground, but they still have some major things to iron out. See, that's kind of where I stand.
So I tend to agree with that, right? Because I don't think they were super close maybe last week even. But I also don't think discussions were super hot until this week.
Yeah.
Right? Jordan Love's in Green Bay now. His representation is in Green Bay, we assume. They're looking to knock this thing out ASAP. But there is still, if you're a GM or if you're Russ Ball, who's obviously in charge of the finances for the Packers, I don't know how ready you are to say, hey, man, you had a great half season. Let's make you the highest paid guy in average annual value right now. Right? Like, as much as we don't, as Packers fans, want to have reservations about whether or not Jordan Love is the guy, you still have to understand, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not even Jared Goff yet. Jared Goff's played in a Super Bowl and 2 NFC championship games as a starting quarterback, right? Jordan Love had a really, really, really good half season. Is that worthy of making, the most money year over year as anybody in the NFL? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. If I was cutting the check, which gratefully I'm not because this deal was done weeks ago, I'm probably okay with making him a $55 million a year guy. I am. I'm that confident he can be that good. But hope is not a strategy. Hope is not proof, right? I hope he is great. I hope he becomes the face of the NFL. I hope he's as good as Aaron Rodgers. I've seen flashes. I've seen things that give me confidence he can be. But am I positive? No, I am not. Riley, to you, the panic meter of Jordan Love in the Packers situation right now is where between 1 and 10?
Got to turn my mic on. Probably like a 3 or 4. Not high. Not high at all right now. I think, the farther we get into training camp without a deal, if we hit preseason, then I'm going to start to panic. But that's still a long ways away. I'm not worried right now. And again, I'm not really familiar with how contract negotiations work in professional sports. Like, maybe they haven't really been rushing at all. Maybe they haven't really been dead set on figuring out a deal up until this point. I don't know.
I heard the Riley and ESPN Madison contract debate was quite a one, knock them out, drag them out type of one.
I
heard
that $15 an hour.
I was in the room for it, Joshy. I was in the room for it. I mean, he really had to scratch and claw.
Asking for all these extras.
I charge a pretty penny.
Some Pella windows put into his house. A couple bottles of Door County every month.
Every month.
Yeah.
Every month. It was a big negotiation. I'm with you guys. I'm at like a 4 or 5. If we get to Wednesday, Josh, if I lose our bet, I'm up to like an 8.
Oh wow!
Seriously, I would be shocked. And I said this before. If I think both parties understand the distraction this causes, and I understand, if you're a teammate of Jordan Love, you're like, hey, go get yours. We're not worried about it, dude. But there's a point where you get to 3, 4 practices in, and Jordan Love isn't really like, oh, I got to sore shoulder this day. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I think that affects your team, especially given the fact that they are the youngest team in the NFL, right? They're a team that completely outshot expectations a year ago, but now you go into the season with expectations back. So I'm worried the effect that maybe, hey, Jordan is distracted with this total sideshow for the first week of us all being together. I worry what kind of a toll that takes on the long-term success of this team.
Yeah, I think even more than just this season, you have to start thinking. Now, the Packers have rehabbed their image from the Aaron Rodgers issues that took place, but past Jordan Love, you've still got a lot of young players in the near future that you're going to want to bring back. And we know what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams sort of did to that locker rooms in terms of lack of confidence in the front office to do the right things that everyone on the team think they should do. You don't want to get rid of all of that, and then the first time you have the chance to make it right, kind of step in the bear trap again and risk some of those guys looking around and going, should I re-sign here or should I test free agency? Should I give the Packers, and by all accounts, the Packers, aside from the Rodgers thing, is like very highly respected among the agents and people in the NFL and how they treat their players. But if you keep adding on to that, Goody's reputation could take a real sort of ding here.
It could take a hit, no doubt.
That, to me, I think, is also a large part of why the Packers are incentivized. As much as Jordan Love wants to keep public favor on his side, I think the Packers have just as much incentive, even though they have, quote unquote, the leverage here. Both sides, it behooves both of them for this to end and be done with.
I love the word behooves.
It's a great word.
It's a good usage.
That
of
is
the
a good word
as well by Josh DiMaggio. Thank you for validating, Riley. Dynamite dropping,
of
bro.
Course.
I'm behooved by that. I use that right?
No.
Can you define behooved?
Mutually beneficial? No, because behoove is an advantage. It is good for it is good for someone, good for something.
So by saying having you and Riley here, it behooves me.
Yes.
That makes sense?
It makes that would be saying you're saying Mr. Irrelevant is better when Riley and Josh are here.
I would agree with that statement. I love having
Without us, not saying in replacement.
Oh, here we go.
I got the official New Oxford American Dictionary. Behoove, a verb. It is a duty or responsibility. Oh, my bad. A duty or responsibility for someone to do something. It is incumbent on.
Oh, okay. Another big word. All right, let's do this. We're gonna. You just mentioned Door County Distillery. We're gonna talk about them in a second. I spent the day tasting some Door County Distillery yesterday in the Madison area. It was awesome. 2 spots in the Madison area. Liberty Station in Madison. They do an apple brandy, like old fashioned, but it's not really an old fashioned. So there's a lot of brandy in there. It's good. It was really good. Orange peel. And then we were over at Tipsy Cow, or not Tipsy Cow, excuse me, across the street from Tipsy Cow, Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie, having a little old fashioned there. So you'll see some videos from that coming up here shortly. So I'll tell you about Door County Distillery, but I want to give you a heads up. In about 5 minutes, we're going to give away a spot in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League. So hang on. Dave & Buster's August 1st in Wauwatosa. We're doing the drafts with all of your favorite ESPN Wisconsin personalities will be there. So we're going to give a spot away from that in about 5 minutes, about 12:58. This afternoon, we will give away a spot in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League. So if you like Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, if you like Wildy and Tash, if you like Mr. Irrelevant, if you like Kyle, Bruston, Nortman, if you like Homer, if you like Jim, Matt, and Molly, your chance to get into a league with one or several of them coming up in about 5 minutes. But first, got to tell you about Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. I mentioned the brandies, the whiskeys, the single malt whiskey. It's 27-time gold medal award winner. Great cocktail recipes, great cocktails made locally, and they do it better than everybody else. Check out their website, DoorCountyDistillery.com, your way to see where you can find Door County Distillery near you. If you're heading up to Door County Distillery, you got to check them out. Carlsville, it's worth the stop, worth the tour, worth the tastings. Check them out, DoorCountyDistillery.com. 60-second break. When we come back, we take a look at the 3 players poised for a big step in 2024. So no rookies involved in this list. Who's going to take that next step in 2024? 3 days out from training camp, I will give you 3 players I've got my eyes on. And we will give away a spot in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League at Dave & Buster's in Wauwatosa coming up on August 1st. We do that all in about 60 seconds. But first, Door County Distillery. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf. It seems like a summer drink here, Rob. A cherry Cosmo.
Exactly. Just our twist on a regular Cosmo. Obviously, Door County, so have to stick some cherry into it.
Have to stick some cherry into it with the cherry vodka from Door County Distillery, made with local cherries, right?
Yep. Made with the Montmorency cherries we're known for here in Door County.
I love it. Let's get to it. What do we got to do?
All right. So first, obviously the cherry vodka. We're gonna add 3 ounces of that. Next, we'll go to triple sec. 1 ounce of that.
Need it for a Cosmo.
This is actually just cranberry juice. 1 ounce of that. Half an ounce of the lime.
The Boston Shake.
Make sure it's, ready to go.
That's such a cool little trick.
Shake it up. Shake it till you feel like it's shaking well enough. Strainer.
I like that color. That looks like summer. Cherry Cosmo from Door County Distillery. Cheers, Rob.
Cheers.
Tastes like summer to me.
Visit DoorCountyDistillery.com to find the retailer nearest you, as well as a huge list of unique cocktail recipes. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com.
Yeah, DoorCountyDistillery.com is the place to find that. All right, let's do this right now. We're bringing back, it's been a few years since we've done the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League. I want to give away a spot in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League right now. All you got to do is call the phone number, 844-770-3776. 844-770-ESPN. Caller 1 right now. You got to be able to get to Wauwatosa August 1st. But caller 1 right now, going to get a spot in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League. 844-770-3776. You're calling Riley back at the Everlight Solar Studio. He's going to take your info. We're going to get you hooked up with a spot in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League coming up on August 1st at Dave & Buster's in Wauwatosa. Going to be a great time. I mentioned all your favorite ESPN Wisconsin personalities going to be there. Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, Jim, Matt, and Molly, Wildy and Tausch, Kyle, Bruston, Nortman, myself. Joshy's even going to be there. August 1st, Wauwatosa, Dave & Buster's. You can get in on the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League. Call right now, 844-770-3776. Your way in. Riley will grab your info. All right, want to get into this now. We are 3 days away from training camp for the Green Bay Packers. 3 days. I've got 3 players in mind that I am absolutely hitching my wagon to. I am absolutely saying they are going to take the next step in 2024. Like, I will admit I am wrong on all three of these guys if I'm wrong. But these are the three Packers, and once again, it's not named Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love already took the step. I think he's going to be consistent. I think he's going to be a guy where you look at him and you're like, yeah, he's got a real shot to win a couple MVPs in his career. So Jordan Love will not be on this list. Three guys who I absolutely, feet in the dirt, think will take that next step in 2024 for the Green Bay Packers. I've got three names in mind, and I'm stubborn on these. Like, I am stubborn on these. So all three of these guys were on the roster last year. That's the one rule I made here. So Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, the rookies, none of those guys are eligible for this list. Name one, and this is the name I am the most confident in, but I'm confident in all three of these guys. Name one is Quay Walker, the linebacker. I think Quay Walker is going to be, we talked about it, I think it was last week when we kind of dove into this new defense a little bit. He was wearing the green dot on his helmet in OTAs, which means he's kind of the defensive play caller. He's going to be a focal point of this Jeff Hafley defense. And him and Devontae Wyatt are tied together for obviously the obvious few reasons, right? They were both from Georgia. They were teammates at Georgia. They were both first-round picks the same year to the Packers a few years back. But they're also tied together because I don't think you've seen exactly what you expected out of either of those guys. Quay Walker's best moment last year came in week 1. He had that pick 6 against Chicago, and then he really didn't do a ton after that. He wasn't bad, but he never really took that step that you had hoped he would last year. So Quay Walker, I think finally, with a defensive coordinator who's energized, with a linebackers coach everybody loves who came from Miami, Anthony Campanelli. Everybody loves that guy. And Quay Walker is the best linebacker on this roster, bar none, right? Like, you have rookies that are joining him. You have Isaiah McDuffie, who you hope takes a step. But Quay Walker's going to be on the field a ton. So Quay Walker is name number one, who I think takes a big step. He'll be the leading tackler for this team. He's going to get after the quarterback a little bit. He's going to show his versatility and athleticism in this new defense. I don't know a ton about this new defense, but what I do know is Quay Walker will be a focal point, and I think he is going to take a big step in 2024, begging the question after this year, oh boy, are we going to have to lock him up for big money? Are we going to have to lock him up? That's who I'm curious about. So Quay Walker is name number one for me when it comes to who takes the big step in 2024. Name number 2, Luke Musgrave. I think Luke Musgrave, as long as he stays healthy, he showed some really nice flashes, both in the postseason and the regular season prior to the injury, where you go, oh boy, Packers got something at the tight end position. Now, as Packers fans, naturally, especially in the offseason, we all kind of think, we'll wait and see, but we think we've got something here, right? Like, naturally, you always look at the upside of all these players. But legitimately, I think you have good reason to believe, especially at the tight end position, that you've got a legitimate 1-2 punch in Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. I think Luke Musgrave, since day one, and that will continue with training camp starting next week, is he is going to develop into the guy that you hoped you would have for all those Rodgers years, right? Like, you had the Richard Rodgers, you had the Bobby Tunyon year. After Jermichael Finley, though, you never had a true tight end who was both a good pass blocker and a good receiving threat. Luke Musgrave, I think, will develop into that guy. So name 2 for me is on the offensive side. Luke Musgrave is name number 2. Quay Walker, Luke Musgrave, 2 names that I think will just take that next step, and you're going to have real studs on this Packers team. Those are the 2 guys I am most excited for in 2024. The final name on this list is a guy I've talked about before, but I think he jumps into the starting rotation of the defensive line this year. I talked about Devontae Wyatt before. I think you're going to be disappointed with him. I think it's one you're going to walk away from after the first contract and say, hey, Goody, you've done a really good job drafting some studs. But I think it's time to move on from this guy. However, you made up for it in the 2023 draft because you drafted Carl Brooks in the mid-round. Carl Brooks, outside of just having obviously the big frame he is as a defensive tackle, he's a really good run stopper. He's aggressive. He's really good with his hands. I think the year 2 jump for Carl Brooks might be the biggest jump of anybody on the Packers. I think Carl Brooks will eventually be the starting defensive tackle, and obviously they do it on a rotation basis, and you'll see some Lucas Van Ness, and you'll see some Devontae Wyatt, and you'll see some Slayton. But I think Carl Brooks will take that next jump and really be like, oh, we've got 2 Kenny Clarks all of a sudden. And he probably won't be Kenny Clark good, but I think he's going to be the option you are most comfortable with outside of Kenny Clark. So just to recap, the 3 names that I think take the next step in 2024 for the Green Bay Packers: Quay Walker, Luke Musgrave, Carl Brooks. The 3 names I am sold on. That will be every down guys where you go, oh, yeah, we've got something there. Goody did his work in the draft with those 3 guys. Riley, any qualms with my list? Did I miss anybody? I didn't pick a wide receiver here, which I think a lot of people will be surprised by, because I didn't pick Dontavian Wicks, who I think is an obvious choice here. But the wide receiver position is so dicey, and I think it's so competitive, and it will be in training camp, that I don't know that we'll see a wide receiver really take the next step. It might be a committee again in 2024. So just to recap again: Quay Walker, Luke Musgrave, Carl Brooks, Riley. Any issues with my list of those 3?
I think it's a solid list. However, I am surprised you didn't put a receiver on the list, because I feel like just the law of percentages, law of averages, whatever it's called, one of these receivers is going to take, as Brewers manager Pat Murphy would put it, a quantum leap forward. I think...
First off, hold on real quick. I just love the Pat Murphy quote.
Yes.
Pat Murphy quotes always allowed on this program.
Twizzler. I love Pat Murphy. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, as you should.
Used to be a Craig Counsell guy. Now I'm Pat Murphy. Anyways, yeah, I think, honestly, this is just me. I'm just a huge Bo Melton guy. I think he was so overlooked last year, and I think his jump is going to be the most noticeable out of any of the receivers last year. So I would put Bo Melton on that list, but other than that, I thought it was good.
Thank you. Now, that's an interesting name, because he is a guy who I know Jason Wilde has talked a lot about this offseason, right? Like, he's kind of the forgotten son of that wide receiver room, and he had that great New Year's Eve game against Minnesota that I dubbed the Bo Melton game. He had 100 yards that game. Now, he actually has a skill that really nobody other than Christian Watson has, and that is speed. Bo Melton is really fast, and people don't realize that. So let's just say we live in a hypothetical world, unfortunately, and this is an unfortunate world, because I talked so highly about Christian Watson on Wednesday's episode of Mr. Irrelevant. Let's just say Christian Watson misses 6 games midseason. Bo Melton's going to see some more time, because you need somebody that stretches the field the way that Christian Watson does. And Bo Melton's kind of your guy for that. Right, Wicks is a really good route runner, and he can make plays everywhere, and he's got really good hands. Romeo Doubs, really reliable, good at everything, it seems like. You throw up a 50-50 ball, you're confident Romeo Doubs is coming down with it. Jaden Reed, your Swiss Army knife, right? He can line up out of the backfield. He can do, things inside the hashes nobody else really can do. Jaden Reed is probably the most intriguing prospect of these wide receivers, just because he can do so many different things. He is an elusive guy. He's really talented. Jaden Reed is really tricky to peg down, like, okay, that's the thing you do well, because he does so many things well. And I think that's why Jaden Reed makes a really strong case of eventually evolving into this number 1 guy. With Bo Melton, he's just quick. He's probably not, when it comes to straight up receiver abilities, he's probably the 5th best on this roster right now, but behind the obvious 4. But he's kind of the forgotten one. So that's a good point, Riley. I don't know if he'll get enough snaps, right? Like, it's going to come down to health. If 2 of those guys are injured, then you're going to see Bo Melton. If I mentioned how competitive the wide receiver room will be in training camp. I think it will be the most competitive room, just because you're fighting for snaps, right? Cornerback is an interesting one, because you're fighting for snaps. Eric Stokes v. Carrington Valentine. You kind of know Jair Alexander, who, when he's not skydiving, and Keyshawn Nixon will be on the field, you assume, right? Because your slot corner will likely be Keyshawn Nixon, and Jair's your best guy. After that, is it Valentine? Is it Stokes? At wide receiver, though, you're usually going to have 2 or 3 on the field only. Is that Watson and Reed? Is it Wicks and Reed? Is it Dobbs and Watts? And sometimes you'll have 3. Who's left out? When you have 4, you assume it'll be those 4. I'm just really curious to see how the snap count shakes out for that room, because you don't have a true number 1. I think if we had to depth chart it and assume everybody is healthy, it's probably Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Wicks, 1 through 4. But I even have an issue with that list. So that's such a fascinating room to me. But Bo Melton's an interesting name, Riley. Thanks for bringing him up. If you have anybody that I missed, feel free to shoot it in the comments section. ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee, YouTube, ESPN Madison on Facebook. Intrigued to see if you have any names that come to mind. I want to give a shout out to our guy Ryan in Sheboygan Falls. He's in the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League. I'm not quite ready to trash talk Ryan. Ryan, I'm looking forward to playing against you. But you're going down, right? Like I'll keep the trash talk to a minimum until we have teams on paper. Joshy, is trash talk allowed in fantasy football on July 19th?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Especially someone like me who, to this date, has drafted over 100 best ball teams.
Yeah, that's insane.
Thank you, Underdog, for supplying me with the latest.
Oh, yeah.
The latest update, the new puppy, Fast Puppy. We're drafting $5 teams like it's going out of style.
So, Joshy, are you going to be in my league? Where are you ending up in the ESPN? Because I know we're having multiple leagues. I know I have a league, and Ryan in Sheboygan Falls is going to be in that league. Should we save you a spot?
I believe right now we're operating on each show is going to have their own league. So I figured I'd be part of Jen, Gabe, and Chewy's. I have in the past, even before I was even in content, before I was doing behind the scenes stuff, I filled in because I was there helping, and someone didn't show up. So I said, "No, I'll take the 12th team. Let's do this. Let's have fun."
All right.
But I'm so in deep in the fantasy streets right now. I've got more opinions than anyone needs to have on fantasy on July 19th.
When is the right time to draft the Packers wide receiver?
This is an interesting debate. Actually, one we had on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Oh, I heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dontavian Wicks is the best pick. He's like a 10th round pick or later. In Wisconsin, obviously, you should probably bump that up a round or two.
Yeah,
because that's how things goes.
So he'd be right in the middle of the draft in Wisconsin, right? Like 8th or 9th round.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But you view him as the guy with the most upside, I assume?
Yes, for cost and potential upside, I think Dontavian Wicks. In that range, you're not really finding a guy who has a potential to be a 1,000-yard wide receiver. And if he is wide receiver 1 on the Packers, you would be led to believe he's going to get somewhere close. The first one off the board is Jaden Reed, who I don't end up drafting a lot. He has the most projectable spot of all the Packers since he led the team in receiving last year. But the one I've taken a lot also is Christian Watson. He's after Jaden Reed. And as we've seen, Christian Watson at any given point can score a touchdown and a whole lot of them. So to me, the value of having a potential wide receiver that finishes somewhere in the top 10, somewhere that you're drafting in the 20s or 30s, that's a guy I'm taking a lot of stabs at.
Okay. Good to know.
A lot of Luke Musgrave, too.
You have too many takes on this.
Oh,
I'll report back to you in a few weeks, because August 1st is our ESPN Wisconsin draft.
Will that be your first one?
No, I'll do some mocks between now and then. But that is 2 weeks from yesterday. So I'm running out of time. We're 13 days away.
Yes, you better start grinding, Bubba.
All right. Same to you, Ryan in Sheboygan Falls. Looking at you, bro.
Yeah, if I end up in the Mr. Relevant League, you guys are in trouble.
Well, you got to let me know if you want to. I'll smoke you first off. No, but Josh, you've played enough fantasy, right? Like just because you're wasting $500, not wasting, but hopefully it's a good investment, right? Because these best ball leagues, but they're $5 a pop. And how many? You said you've done 100 of them?
Yes.
So we're over $500 of investment in best ball leagues, and those are season long investments.
Correct.
Okay.
To this point in my life, fantasy football
has
been an investment. It hasn't been a gamble. It's been an investment.
So you are good at fantasy football.
I have won to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars over my course of playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of want you in this league.
And as you said, it's similar to poker. Things can just not go your way
right,
this season. At any
injuries
given time.
And, there's random weight. Like, remember Devon A-Chain? He had nobody drafted him last year.
Won me a fantasy league with Puka Nacua last year.
You're right, Puka Nacua. Nobody was drafting Puka.
Correct.
So you just never know what will happen in fantasy football. That's why we love it, and that's why we play it, though. So shout out Ryan in Sheboygan Falls joining us in the ESPN Wisconsin Mr. Irrelevant Fantasy Football League. First ever Mr. Irrelevant Fantasy Football League. And first ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football Leagues I will be a part of because we haven't done it in a few years. So looking forward to getting out to Dave & Buster's in Tosa on August 1st. 13 days from today, we will be giving away several more spots, by the way. Monday in the league, we are live with you from 12 to 2 from Green Bay, day one of Packers training camp from 12 to 2, ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison. I think we're going to give away 6 spots on Monday. So if you're looking to get in this league, Monday's going to be your chance. We're going to give away a ton of spots on Monday to celebrate the start of training camp and give you a couple weeks to figure out the plan so you can get there August 1st, just like Ryan in Sheboygan Falls will be getting there the night of August 1st. All right, I'm kind of dreading doing this, but I put it in the rundown. I told him I would do it only if he started as the offensive coordinator at Toledo, and he did it. Hunter Vaughn took the day off today. I started the show saying that. He's a 31-year-old man who took a day off 4 months in advance just to play a video game. I kind of respect it. It kind of bugs me, though, right? Like, no offense to Riley. I love having Riley here. Same with Joshy. Love having Joshy a part of the show. Hunter, though, like, he has been part of every episode outside of 3 of Mr. Irrelevant. So it's weird not having him here at the end of a week where there's a ton going on, right? The Jordan Love news and discussion. He came up with the idea of, as we do the countdown to training camp, coming up with these lists. And today is obviously our final one. 3 players I absolutely believe will take the next step for the Packers. Hunter's nowhere to be found. He's eating Cheez-Its on his couch in his boxers and pretending to be the Toledo offensive coordinator. Riley, he has been giving you updates throughout the day on how he is doing in this video game that nobody actually gives a damn about. So, Riley, I'm just going to give you the floor. Oh, there's a screenshot. Toledo beats Mississippi State 34-14. So what you're telling me is Hunter is playing this video game he took a day off for on easy mode. He took Toledo on the road to Miss State and beat him by 20 points. I can't wait to roast this man on Monday. How are you not at work right now? Riley, am I overreacting?
I don't know. I can't say I've been in Hunter's situation. I was fortunate enough to get Monday and Tuesday off by default. I certainly wasn't going to take work off to play this game. However, in Hunter's defense, he's 8-0 right now. He just texted us. So
and
clearly,
he said he's playing at All-American. So
at
least he's got us on in the background. At least he's thinking of us. Thanks, Hunter.
Appreciate the thought.
Unreal.
Appreciate the thought. So I think it's funny.
Has Toledo ever been 8-0?
Oh, they were
This is
close.
unrealistic.
They were close. Remember the Kareem Hunt year? They were ranked 23rd in the country.
True.
They were good that
Great
year.
point. Good pull by you, Riley.
Toledo.
Joshy's got something.
Oh boy.
Groundhog's popping up. Groundhog. Go ahead, Groundhog.
This isn't, as I'm sure Hunter's listening, expecting me to rain on his parade. It's whatever. He can do whatever he wants. He's an adult. He needs to get a bigger TV, though. He's playing, what is that?
Pop that back up, Riley. Let's see what TV he's playing on. That's probably what, Joshy, like a 50-incher maybe?
It's hard to tell. It seems to me I'm going 42 on that.
42?
Need to improve on that. If you're going to take a day off, you have to have
the setup.
Yeah.
The setup.
The other thing I wanted to ask is in regards to, because you mentioned he's playing on All-American.
Yes.
I'm a proponent of not necessarily playing on the easiest, but I have the most fun in video games when I win and dominate.
Oh, that's
so I want to be setting records.
If you're bringing Toledo to the college football playoff, it's got to be a challenge, Josh. You can't be playing on rookie mode.
Is challenging enough. When I pick up the sticks, I do not need to be challenged. I want to have fun. I want to set records. On my road to glory, I want to be scoring 50, 60 touchdowns a year. Run it up. Have fun.
I want the Heisman winner every year. You're like Lincoln Riley, Midas touch with the Heisman winners.
Correct.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Let's wrap up the week. Let's wrap up the show. By the way, I don't even know if I've told everybody this on this show. I've told everybody that I work with this because I don't know if I've announced this on the show yet. Next week is going to be one hell of a week, both for this program and myself. I'm going to be all over the Midwest next week. So Monday, I've mentioned this several times. We're live on the radio, but with you here is where you always watch us, Facebook and YouTube. And, of course, the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Mr. Irrelevant. Monday, we're in Green Bay for training camp. So I'm getting up there bright and early Monday morning. I'm bringing my notebook. I'm going to take notes at training camp practice. I will start every segment. We're going to have 8 segments of radio on Monday. I will start every segment with one of the 8 observations I write down from training camp. Joshy's shaking his head. That's how you know I have a good idea. When Joshy shakes his head, that's how you know I'm onto something. I'm bringing my notebook. We'll be in Green Bay for Mr. Irrelevant live from 12 to 2 on Monday. Wednesday, we will be at Big Ten Media Days. So Tuesday morning, 2 a.m., I am leaving Milwaukee. I am driving to Indianapolis
to get to Big Ten Media Days. This is obviously the first year that USC, Washington, UCLA, and Oregon are a part of the Big Ten. So Big Ten Media Days this year is 3 days long. I will be there day 1, day 2, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday is a Mr. Irrelevant day. Wednesday, we are doing Mr. Irrelevant live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Good guests scheduled to appear. I'll just tease you with that. You could probably put 1 and 2 together. But we will do Mr. Relevant live Wednesday, and then Friday we're gonna pre-record a podcast episode, and we'll upload some content from what we get from Big Ten Media Days. I took Friday off, but we will still have a fresh episode of Mr. Irrelevant for you next Friday, the 26th, just to kind of recap the adventures in Indianapolis. So that is next week, getting you ready for football season, baby. Training camp Monday, getting you ready for the college football season Wednesday, and then Friday we'll have some more Wisconsin and Big Ten content for you on Friday. Leading into college football season, and then we're back that following Monday, getting ready. I mean, it's all gas to the floor at that point, right? Training camp's underway. College football practices start that week, and we're just a couple of weeks away from real football. So summer's over, at least in terms of if you're ready for football season, right? I view the calendar as 5 seasons, right? It's winter, spring, summer, football season, fall, winter. Those are my 5 seasons. There you go. That's actually technically 6, but it's fine. All right, let's wrap it up as we always do. Riley, you learn something new every day. It is your debut in What We Learned.
It is.
Riley, what did you learn?
That is a great question. We've been talking a lot about college football 25. For one, I've learned I'm bad at the game. I've kind of sucked since I've started playing. I won my first game against Minnesota by 3. Since then, I don't think I've won a play now game. And, the only games I've won have been in Road to Glory when I'm only controlling one player. So those don't really count. I suck. But anyways, the big thing I learned is that, did you know this, Strouf? I knew women weren't the biggest fans of video games, but I didn't know they absolutely hated video games for the most part. Maybe this is just mine.
You're saying women. Hold on.
That's a generalization.
You're saying women plural.
Yes.
But this sounds like woman singular.
Okay.
WOMAN.
It is.
You're saying your girlfriend hates video games,
yes,
right? That's what you're saying.
That is exactly what I'm saying. But she apparently talked about this with some of her friends who also hate video games. So I know it's more than a few women hate video games.
This sounds like a nasty generalization. Is what this is, right? Like, you're like, hey, my girlfriend hates when I do nothing but play video games for 48 hours straight.
True.
But that means all women hate video games.
Exactly. And I know Hunter. I
appreciate
Hunter
the cojones that take took. But no, go ahead. His wife.
Hunter Vaughn's wife. He told me yesterday. She has been very kind to him about this. So clearly, it's not all women. I'm mostly just saying that because my girlfriend hates when I bring up college football 25. It's kind of funny.
I don't hate it, for the record, so I'm appreciative of your transparency here. But I called Joshie DiMaggio the groundhog for a reason.
Yes.
Because, and I've explained this before, but my view of Joshie here at the Gruber Law Office is One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. I'm looking at a glass wall. And in front of me in the glass wall, I see 3 computer monitors that pretty much just take up the wall. Joshie always sits in his chair very low. You can't really see Joshie. But when something piques his interest, you see he's wearing a camouflage hat today. You see his camo hat kind of pop up and run over to the microphone. So Joshie had a very big reaction to what you just said, Riley. Before I tell you what I learned, Joshie, the floor is yours.
Riley, I think this might have something to do with somebody who may have gotten their birthday forgotten recently. And a helpful tip, Hunter usually has relationship advice that is usually quite sage, worth listening to. The one I've learned has not necessarily been a real behavior change of mine, but I don't mention fantasy football because my girlfriend hates it. So I just don't bring it up.
Okay.
So I'm very lucky.
I think your plan here should be, even if you're going to waste away your days playing video games, which you can decide if they are wasted or not. That's not up for me to decide. I think you just got to keep it to yourself.
Okay.
I do a lot of keeping to myself, and not necessarily like I'm hiding secrets, but she doesn't care about what the Packers are doing. She doesn't care about the video games. We talk about things we can agree on or things that matter.
So I'm very lucky because I'm dating a girl who loves sports. So as you both very well know, my life kind of revolves around one thing and one thing only. And that is sports. Like, I'm just a huge sports fan. So that's been good. All right, let's end with this because I'm curious, and I do want to poll the room on this one before we wrap it up for the week, and appreciate everybody hanging out with us on a Wednesday. Today is National Words with Friends Day. Do we remember the app from like a decade and a half ago, Words with Friends Day? Words with Friends. It's Scrabble, right? It's just Scrabble for your iPod, essentially, at the time. My question is, has anybody played this in the last, let's say, 8 years, right? So it's 2024. Has anybody played Words with Friends since 2016? Riley?
No, I never played Words with Friends. I remember seeing little ads on the games that I did play back on my like Kindle Fire back in middle
There you
school.
go, right? So
no.
I think mine was like on the first gen iPad I had. I played Words with Friends. I haven't played it in probably a decade. Joshy, you seem like you might be a word game guy.
I'm not typically. I'll play a crossword here, but I have a friend and his girlfriend who still play. So when one of them is looking for a word, I will jump in and help them out.
Really?
They still use the app. It's
No
crazy.
kidding. Okay.
And they use it religiously.
But what I learned, why I bring this up, is that anybody can make up a national holiday, but apparently except me. So back in 2016, speaking of 2016, I was fascinated with the website nationaldaycalendar.com. I still visit it every day because I'm always curious. You know, today is also International Retainer Day, right? If you wear a retainer, happy holidays. I tried to make up a holiday, and I feel like it should have stuck. The holiday I made up was on October 10th of every year. It stays on October 10th, doesn't move. National Change Your Profile Picture Day. I'm a guy who's not great about updating my profile pictures on platforms, right? Like I kind of use the same picture for 3 years, and then I remember to do it because somebody took a picture of me, and then I do it another 3 years later. I think we should all, and I kind of view this way about government-issued IDs as well. Your look is always changing, right? Like, sometimes I have a beard. Sometimes I don't. My hair, I've been wearing it much shorter the last few years. The ID picture I have, my hair is much longer. I don't have a beard. You know, same with my profile picture. I probably don't look like what I look like in that. I haven't updated it in probably a year. Every October 10th, you should be forced to change your profile picture, or else it goes to a blank screen. Joshy, you on board with National Change Your Profile Picture Day? I feel like National Day Calendar should pick that one up.
As somebody who hasn't changed their profile picture on anything in more than a decade, no.
Oh, more than a decade?
Yeah, no.
I feel like you should. You're probably overdue.
What do I got to do that for?
People need to know what you look like, Joshy.
The worst thing, no, they don't. They can watch me on the stream.
Okay, but I meant more like high school friends that might not know what you do for a living.
They can go buzz off.
Okay.
The thing about it is, and the way it is for me, especially on Twitter, is I recognize just the rough image as I'm scrolling of somebody. When they change it up, it changes everything for me. It's an inconvenience.
Oh, come on.
It's an inconvenience.
You're brutal. All right. Well, I tried. That does it for us today and this week. Next time we talk to you, noon on Monday, Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. We'll be live from the Tundra Trio Houses just outside of Lambeau Field for training camp. Next Wednesday, we're live with you from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, and then Friday we'll have something for you from all of our adventures out in Indianapolis. Appreciate you hanging out. Shout out to Ryan in Sheboygan Falls, the first entry into the Mr. Relevant Fantasy Football League, the ESPN Wisconsin Fantasy Football League at Dave & Buster's coming up on August 1st. Look forward to that. Thanks, Joshy. Thanks, Riley. Appreciate you both. We will be back with you Monday beginning at noon. We'll talk to you then. Have a great weekend. It's Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I'm Alex Strouf. Peace.